Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cecil's Unknown Achievers. This podcast is all about those hardworking entrepreneurs that you've never heard of. Today's guest entrepreneur is involved in a number of different endeavors. She provides marketing and event planning services. She runs a nonprofit called Evanston Present and Future. She spearheaded the city of Evanston's first celebration of the now federal and Illinois state holiday for Juneteenth. She leads the Reparations Ambassador Program, which is a program that seeks to raise funds and educate people about reparations. And she runs another business called Mari and Mari Inclusive Talent. So please welcome to Cecil's Unknown Achievers, Kemone Hendricks.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, we've got a little to unpack here, so let's get started. Briefly, just tell us who is Kemone Hendricks and what are you all about?
Well, I'm still fully unpacking the who is Kemone Hendricks, right? As I think we all are when it comes to the overall, arching of, what we want to do and become in our lives. But a little bit about me, I was born in Jamaica. I came to America when I was around 5 years old, and we came to the Chicagoland area, and then we moved to Evanston, Illinois, and I've kind of lived in Evanston ever since for my whole life. And this part of my, I think I'm frozen, aren't I?
No, you're fine.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you were frozen. Sorry, it's just mine. So a big part of my story that I like to tell people is that, I don't have a college degree. I didn't graduate college, and it has shaped my endeavors and shaped me to become who I am today in a positive way. I had my daughter, my first child, when I was 16 years old in high school. And as you can imagine, there were a lot of struggles that came with that. Through those struggles, though, is what encouraged me to become an entrepreneur, what encouraged me to want to give back to other teen parents, what encouraged me to want to become a better person, and not just become a better person, but share the wealth of knowledge that I learned throughout my life, through the obstacles, through, everything that was thrown at me throughout my journey. I learned a lot. That's how I learn. I have, I learned through experiences, through doing things and, getting data of sorts. So I started my businesses through that lens of wanting to give back, but at the same time, create something that my children will be proud of and something that my children would be able to learn from themselves and create a legacy for them too. And so I'll let you kind of take it from here because I could talk for a very long time.
That's quite all right. That's what we're here for. Yeah. So the early on challenges that you had in your life clearly shaped the types of work that you're doing now, and it's evident in the types of businesses that you're involved in, and what I've read about you. It seems that definitely was the precursor to giving you the impetus to have the drive to do what you do right now.
Yeah. Absolutely, exactly. Yes.
So what did you do professionally before you started these various endeavors?
So I worked for a very long time for a big corporation. I'm not going to say the name, but it's a big, well-known corporation. I worked for them for, a little over 8 years and climbed that corporate ladder. And, it was through that where, I felt what I called sort of divine discontentment. I knew that there was more that I could be doing. I had excelled at such a fast rate in, that company. And there was just something brewing inside of me that, this is not it for me. There is so many untapped talents that I know that I have within myself that I need to be able to explore freely and kind of like burst out of this box that I felt that I was put into. And so I did that for a while. And then I just kind of had this moment where I was just like, I'm done with this. And I kind of launched my what's called Mari Enterprise, which is an events and marketing company. I can go a little bit deeper into that because it's specific types of events and specific types of marketing. But when I started this company, the overarching theme within me was that it was going to be built off of my talents, something that I know that I can do. Because I didn't have capital, I didn't have a whole bunch of money. All I had was what was in my heart, what I knew that I could do. All I had was me. So I used that and I started my company, and I literally just built it from the ground up with, my hands and so forth, and the other endeavors that I did.
So it's interesting that that is a very common theme among folks who start businesses, is that they're working for a company, a corporation, and they have some level of discomfort where they know maybe they're being unutilized, and that's what drives them to do their own thing. What was there one particular event that, sometimes you hear people are passed over for a promotion that they felt they were due. Was there something that happened or that didn't happen that kind of gave you the I'm doing this now?
Yeah, actually, it did have to do with being passed over for a promotion. It
Mm-hmm.
absolutely did. It was something that I had worked really hard for. I was, was going along, getting promoted. I got to this point in the company, and things started to change. And I saw I got overlooked for the promotion. Just saw the route the company was going. And I stopped and thought to myself, there's no way in hell I'm going to start over. I
Mm-hmm.
worked so hard to get here. And for me to not get that promotion and that role that I know very much so I more than deserve, and I'm being told to do something like, that whole song and dance. I thought to myself, there's no way in hell I'm no. It's not, you know what I mean? It's like when
Right.
you work so hard, I'm not going to go backwards. I'm not going to go backwards. So you're absolutely right. It definitely did have something to do with not getting a promotion, along with, I think there were other things that were kind of like leading up to that. And I remember at certain points going into work, just literally dreading it. And I had never felt like that at work. When I used to go to work for that company, I would be so energetic. I was happy. I was inspired. Like, it was everything for years. So when I started to feel like, oh my God, why am I here? That was like huge for me, right? Because everyone that knew me knew that that job was just everything for me, right? And so when I started to feel those feelings of like, I need to leave, I hate being here, that I've never felt before, I knew something was brewing.
Sure. So you're feeling, you had some records of success, some promotions, but then it got to a point where you felt you couldn't go any further or weren't
Right.
going to be allowed to go any further. And you're thinking, I got to utilize my talent somehow. So there's that period that I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs about where they're thinking about it, and then they go from just thinking about it to pulling the trigger and uh, notifying, giving your 2 weeks notice and saying I'm leaving or just leave. Tell us about what was going on in your mind at the time when you were, maybe had one foot out the door. You didn't clearly know exactly what the future held, but you knew where you were wasn't the future. So what was going on in your mind at that time?
You mean like once I had already left,
Well, no,
or?
but like kind of prior to you left, where you might have had just one foot out the door, you're thinking about it. What made you pull the trigger and just say, "Look, I'm going. This is it."
I mean, on top of not getting the promotion and feeling stuck, I just knew within my heart of hearts that I was doing the right thing.
Hmm.
And I knew that better was out there for me. And I knew how to get better. And really, I was following my intuition, my gut feeling. And it was just something I couldn't ignore. I can't really put it into words. There wasn't, any other situations that happened besides what I kind of explained. And I just pulled the trigger.
I think I lost your audio. Are you hearing me? Are you? Can you hear me still?
Can you hear me now?
Now I do. Yes.
Okay.
Little
Yeah.
glitch there.
Yeah. So yeah, those are the things that was going through my head. But I felt when I started to plan to leave and do all of that, and as much as I could plan, right? Because there wasn't a whole lot of that's when I started to actually feel happy and
Hmm.
hopeful. And I started getting excited, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And to be honest with you, I didn't share this with anybody. I didn't
Probably a smart
share.
thing.
Right, exactly. I was following my intuition, and a part of that was not to share my thoughts and feelings with anyone. I mean, nobody knew what was going on with me, what was going through my head. I think they all assumed that I had another job lined up. I did
Hmm.
my 2 week notice. And they just assumed Kemone got a better job, and Kemone. I was like, nope, like in my head, and that's just kind of, how it started. And I don't know if I got the part, but I was like, don't try this at home. But it's kind of like, yes, you do, but no, because it's like, it's not easy. If you're not getting that gut, to do something like that without having, because I didn't really have like the major proper things set up where one would be like, oh, I have all this money and I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I didn't have all of those ducks in a row. I had some of them, but it's like most people would have been like, no, what are you doing? Are you crazy? Don't do that. Like, no. So if you're not having that gut, that divine discontentment, don't just do it because it's like, oh, everyone's an entrepreneur now. Everybody's doing it. It's not for everybody. I never knew I even wanted to be an entrepreneur until that time. I thought I was going to work a 9 to 5 for the rest of my life, and that's it.
Hmm.
And I was happy doing that at that time. And then this happened.
You mentioned that phrase "divine discontentment" a couple times. What does that mean to you?
So, the divine discontentment, and while I've had multiple, strikes of what I call divine discontentment, I didn't know that word at that time.
Hmm.
So, in a nutshell, it's kind of having this feeling that you are unhappy with whatever it is, or something specific that's going on in your life. It could be with work, it could be in a relationship, it could be, your living situation, whatever it is, it's a specific part of your life where God puts it into your mind that you are extremely unhappy with your situation and there's something that you need to do about it immediately. And when you get divine discontentment, this specific thing is what makes it divine discontentment, is that you do and you make that change fast. Like
Right.
that's how it feels, right? Because a lot of people have been unhappy with certain things in their life, and like, you might plan it out and you try to change it and you work on it. But when you get this divine discontentment, it's like you make this huge decision in your life because you are just so unhappy with whatever it is. You are at your wit's end, whatever it is, and you make this sudden change or this sudden decision in your life to improve it. And it's always something to improve. You make that decision and you make it rapidly and you make it fast. That's what divine discontentment is.
Yeah, and that wasn't going to be stopped. So.
Right, exactly. It's not going to be stopped. And like after it's over, you look back, you're like, wow, I can't even believe I did that, but I'm happy I did, right? Like that's the feeling. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe I really just did that.
Right. So I know you said you didn't want to necessarily mention your previous employer, which is absolutely fine, but tell us about the skills that you were able to pick up and the expertise that you were able to gain that were able to be transferred into what you're doing now.
So part of the job had a huge customer service component. It was working face to face with the community, with the population. And another huge part of that were sales. There was a sales aspect and there was a customer service aspect when it came to the job, as with, I think, a lot of jobs, but this was like a really, face to face, customers in and out, keep going. And in order to do well in this job, you even with sales, right, you have to be able to sell something to someone in a way where it doesn't sound like you're selling it to them, right? That's really the trick. That's really the trick to sales, right? And it's like in sales is a really gut-wrenching thing. You got to be able to stomach it, right? It wasn't all of the job, but it was some of it, right? And building relationships was another part of it. Building relationships and also being able to work in a team in a work environment with managers and things of that nature. So, when I went into that job, it was almost like I discovered an unknown talent of mine. And that unknown talent was that ability to connect with anybody, race, creed, color, age, it doesn't matter what it was. I would connect with people and I would be selling them things without me knowing I'm selling them things because I really actually cared about what I was doing. And so, you know what I mean? So it was so very natural to me that I rapidly, went up in that company, very fast. I went past people that had been working in my position that I got hired at for years. And people were like, whoa, what is going on? And of course, if you're in a manager position and seeing someone like me, it's like, oh my God, this person could make my life very easily. If I have to meet a certain quota or my job, depending on customers being happy, this person has this uncanny ability to make my customers happy. So that's what kind of got me promoted so fast. And it also made me realize that, oh my God, I didn't even know that I had this ability to connect with people, you know what I mean? So that was something that I was able to take with me when it went to, starting my own business and things of that nature.
Well, you're technically still in a sales role, and interpersonal relationships are clearly still a part of that. So that clearly is something that you developed while you were at the company, and you're using it to its fullest extent right now. Something I saw on your website too that caught my eye was words that you use to describe yourself as a servant leader, generalist, critical thinker, spiritual being. I'm going to pick one of those. What does that mean to you to be a servant leader? Because some people would say those two terms are contradictory.
Right, exactly. And so for me, because I think first and foremost, to define what a leader is, I think that should come from the person, right? And I think that when it comes to labels and labeling yourself, you should be the one that defines what that is and accepts or denies them and things of that nature. But a servant leader is someone that leads but also serves. Right? So it's being in a certain position as a leader. Like, let's say you've been given this role as a manager or a leader at whatever job it may be, right? Or you run your own company, but you have employees or volunteers that work for you. You, within that leadership role, you put at the forefront the people who work for you. It's like when you come into work, you're like, oh, let me make sure I bring cupcakes to everyone to make sure that they're happy, or let me, so it's like, because you have some leaders who are dictators and, things of that nature. There's different, characteristics, I would say, I guess, as a leader. Right. So a servant leader is someone who enjoys helping people, but also happen to be a leader, most likely unbeknownst to them, maybe, it's kind of they've been labeled as a leader through the things that they do, but they also enjoy serving. They also enjoy helping people. They also enjoy giving back. Like, it's not like a task for them or something that they hate. It's like there's something that's within them that they enjoy doing. And so that's kind of like what a servant leader is.
Do you think it's tough for folks in leadership positions to have that servanthood as part of their work or part of what they do? Is it a challenge, you think?
I think it can be a challenge, and I think it's also a matter of balance, right? And it's also a matter of work styles, how you get along with people, who are getting to know the people that you are working with, and do you expect them to serve you? Because some of those, leadership roles are set up like that, where your team serves you. You don't serve your team. And so I guess it's just the dynamic of what has been set up. I don't think being a servant leader per se is, some type of holier than thou initiative. Like, you know what I'm saying? It just is what it is. And I think, though, it is needed in certain roles more so than others, that I think a lot of people need to dive deeper into when they are picking leaders or hiring or things of that nature, right? It's like, what type of leadership do I want in this position? Because everyone can excel at, a job or a role or becoming an entrepreneur, but not everyone are good leaders. And that's not really a good or bad thing. You may not want to even be a leader. You just want to maybe just work and do your thing and make money or whatever it is. And, you don't want to be a leader or whatever it may be. But I think servant leadership is, something that I think probably would do better in certain environments more than others.
I think, one of my brothers is a motivational speaker, and he talks about leadership quite a bit in companies, in the military, he's in the military. But one of the things that he talks about is the effectiveness of leaders is determined in large part by their ability to get out of their subordinates, so to speak, what they need. And a lot of times that is driven by the leader or boss's ability to serve those who are supposedly under him.
Yeah.
And you've had bosses, I've had bosses, and we've had good bosses and bad bosses. But my recollection of the good ones are the ones that take a genuine interest in me, and they in a sense serve me and serve my needs, which in turn drives me to help meet their goals. So it's all a great cycle to be on. Conversely, with bad bosses, the opposite happens. They're looking just to serve their own interests, and it creates these little camps that don't really serve the organizations well, or definitely not the individuals involved either.
Yeah, and I love what your brother said, because that is similar to one of the things that I say when people like ask me about like leadership and stuff is like, you know, you're being a good leader when, let's say you don't know the answer to something. You can get it from your team. Your team knows the answer when you don't know the answer to something. And, you know, that really like, you know, resonates with me. And I think another thing that really, you know, helped me throughout the corporate world and working in jobs is being adaptable, right? I've had some, what I would consider good bosses, bad bosses based on how I like to work. But at the end of the day, I was extremely adaptable. I don't think any one of my bosses knew or thought that I didn't think they were a good boss, because I just adapted to everything that was thrown at me. Like, so I could work under any type of boss style and still exceed because I am adaptable.
And that adaptability is hugely important as a skill that an entrepreneur should have.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
let's jump into talking about your various endeavors, and I'm gonna start with the one that made me, or that I caught, uh, that was apparent to me when I first learned about you, was
Mhm.
the Juneteenth celebration in Evanston. So how did that start, and how did it get going to what it is now?
So, yes. So I found out about Juneteenth just a few years ago. I believe it was in 2018. And I found out about it through a friend. And I was
So
like,
let me get you to pause for a minute. I never actually knew what that was until just a few years ago, because I don't ever
yeah,
recall in school that being part of any Black History Month education, anything. So
yeah,
you're
exactly.
not
It was
unlike
in
probably a lot
schools.
of people who didn't know what that was.
Exactly, exactly. And that's what it was. It was not, it was, Juneteenth was a huge part of history that was left out of textbooks, right? We're taught it was the Emancipation Proclamation,
Hmm.
and then all the enslaved people were free, and that's it. Like, that's what's in the textbook. There's nothing about Juneteenth in the textbooks. So when I found out about it, it was like, oh my God, like, how is it that there's this thing, this time in history, and it's not huge in, you know, my community where I live. I think, you know, Juneteenth was huge in Texas where it happened. And, you know, I think other states celebrated Juneteenth in a large scale. But where I live, you know, Juneteenth, you know, wasn't, you know, on the scale that I thought it would be. So
Hmm.
that is what inspired me to start organizing and planning Juneteenth events. The first Juneteenth event that I planned was a celebration, and it was a big success. And that's kind of what led to everyone in the community also being inspired about it. So the next year, I planned a parade, which was, you know, I had to turn it into a virtual parade because it was being planned in the middle of the pandemic.
Right.
I was planning it to be an in-person parade, then boom, the pandemic happened, and then boom, I switched it to virtual, which I think I did one of the first big virtual events in my community, because that was the time where everyone kind of like didn't know what to do. They're like, everything's being canceled, and I saw everything being canceled, and I thought in my head, there's no way in hell I'm canceling Juneteenth. It's not happening. We can find a way. We can find a way to still make it happen. So I did, and that was great. And then, you know, Juneteenth so far after that, I did a lot of different Juneteenth activities. I did pop-up shops, just like a whole slew of different Juneteenth themed things. And then, of course, you know, we all know it just became the federal holiday. And yeah, so that was kind of it in a nutshell.
So in the beginning, when you had that idea to do this, what what sort of challenges were you facing? Because you're doing something that hasn't been done before.
Yeah.
What kind of struggles did you face, if any?
Well, I think, the main part is when you're, organizing and event planning around something as sensitive as Juneteenth, a lot of thought needs to go into it. And I knew that right away. Like, this is not just a regular event that you just throw on and people just come to, and that's it. A lot of details, a lot of thought, a lot of meaningful. Well, that was kind of my, thought process. Like, it needs to be meaningful, and it also needs to include everyone, because I know for sure if I didn't know what Juneteenth was, there's a whole lot of people that don't know what Juneteenth is, right?
Sure.
And so I would say, I guess one of the challenges were finding a way to bring everyone together, race, creed, age, whatever it may be, bring everyone together, but still in a sensitive way where it's honoring the Black community, honoring what Juneteenth is, honoring its legacy, and still being able to celebrate in a way, right? It was like this whole balance. How do you celebrate the ending of slavery? Yeah, you can celebrate it, but it shouldn't have happened in the first place. And then, you're inviting white people to it. White people were part of the problem, but hey, if we want to fix the problem and move forward, so I had to take all of those variables together and create an event where everyone would be proud to attend. And that was the main challenge that I believe I successfully fixed, and took it with me throughout the rest of the Juneteenth events.
So you had to pivot during the pandemic to make this a virtual event. I mean, how did that work? I mean, that had to be a serious undertaking.
Yeah, it was a serious undertake. And so as I went through planning it, and then the pandemic happened, there was a lot of passings and tragedies within the community. And, when I saw everything being canceled, I thought to myself, there has to be a way to still make this happen on a virtual level. I had never planned a virtual event, but I started researching. I saw that, there were other different types of virtual parades that had happened before. And I just started doing my research on how that would even look like, right? I would need people to do pre-recorded things, upload it. But first and foremost, I would need someone that's tech savvy to pull this off. And that's not me. I am not tech savvy. Like, I need someone who's able to record and, upload it. And we streamed it to YouTube and Facebook, and it was just so amazing. And then, I just sat there, I was like, God, I really need someone that is like really good on the technical side that could really pull this together with me.
Sure.
Then I got a phone call from someone in the community who was wanting to help me pull this together. And what I did was I started putting it out there on the internet and on my Facebook and social media that I still wanted Juneteenth to happen, that I wanted to be virtual. I kind of just put it out there and see. And then, so I got a partner who was able to help record and do all that streaming and all that technical stuff. And what we created was a 2-hour magnificent virtual Juneteenth parade that had performances. It was just amazing. We had speakers, we had people sending in stuff from their homes, pre-recordings. We had, it was just amazing. It was amazing. I was like running all over the place, recording people. And then we also coordinated like a food pickup so people can like order their food the day of Juneteenth and come home and eat while they're watching the parade and kind of take their own pictures and take selfies. So it was a lot. It was planning something virtual is way more work than planning something in person. So well, I think
especially since you got short notice to do it too.
So. Exactly. And in my mind, and this is what this is what I tell a lot of my clients, is that, depending on the type of event that you're planning, you want to not only remain adaptable, but, be able to, in your mind, foresee any pivots that may be needed. And, at the beginning of the planning, there wasn't any COVID talk. But as soon as COVID talk started to happen, before everything was canceled, I had already started researching. I had already had it in my heart and my mind that no matter what got canceled, Juneteenth was not going to be canceled because it's way too important. And I felt that the community needed this, that the community needed something uplifting to carry us through this horrible time that we were going through. And it was amazing.
So you mentioned your help, you got assistance with the tech for this. Mm-hmm. How important is it to have, when you're an entrepreneur, to have a support system, whether it's emotional or actual technology or whatever expertise you don't necessarily have? How important is it to have people that you can rely on to handle those things that you directly can't?
Well, of course, it's extremely important, but is that always the perfect situation? No, that has not always been the perfect situation. And it's hard to get people that you can rely on. It's hard to find your tribe and people that have your back and people that, like, even if they are able to fill a need that you need to pull something off, or within your company, are they going to be reliable? Are they going to be able to see it through? And personally for me, I've had to do a lot of things on my own, research a lot of things on my own, and kind of been able to outsource and find people on the fly that can help. And
So what's your advice? I'm sorry. What's your advice for folks who they don't have a tribe or they don't have a team, but they need how do they go about getting those resources so that they can do what they are feeling they should be doing?
So I would say a lot of networking events. Join your local chamber. I had to get very social, talkative, get out there, email people, ask to buy them a cup of coffee, to talk with them. It's a lot of,
You don't seem like you've ever had trouble talking, so I don't wait. You see?
Yeah, but it gets, it can get tiresome sometimes, right?
Yeah,
and I think one of the things is that everyone has their own thing going on, right? Sure. So to be able to find someone that believes in what you do, and it's equally beneficial too, I guess, like, you know what I'm saying, mm-hmm. is it takes a lot of relationship building in time. But there's, nowadays there are so many different websites out there, you guys, that you can hire someone on a fly to do those things that either you don't know how to do, or maybe you just don't even like to do them. Because there's some stuff that I don't like to do that I would, hire someone else to do because I don't like to do it. I would like to do other things. So there's a lot of websites. There's a lot, like, being an entrepreneur nowadays, there's people that have their 9-to-5, but they also have these side gigs that they offer on a temporary basis. And like, yes, it might not be, long term, but still it fills your short term need until you can find your tribe and build that solid, foundation. So I would say that's definitely like the way to go, outside of like going to a lot of networking events and meeting people and talking and seeing where it goes. But if you have a temporary need that needs to be filled, go to these websites. There's a lot of really great websites that people list what they can do, and you hire them at an affordable price and you fill your need.
That's great. What's next year's Juneteenth celebration going to look like? Anything new, or what are the
I
plans?
Can't tell you.
I know you can't tell me all the secrets now. There are some things being planned, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I always aim to make the next year different and, most importantly, bigger. I always want to make Juneteenth bigger than it was the last year. So that is, always my goal.
We look forward to that.
Yay.
So next, another one of your pursuits, Evanston Present and Future. So a lot of things involved in that, under that umbrella, the teen parent program, funding for education or entrepreneurship, the reparations ambassador program. Tell us about Evanston Present and Future.
Yes. So Evanston Present and Future it is a nonprofit organization that I started. And it was started based off of a dream that I had when I was a teenager, after I had gave birth to my daughter, and I was kind of like going through different things in the community. And I always felt as though there was more that the community could do for teen parents. And at that early age, I always wanted to start some type of organization that would give back to teen parents. And a lot of it would be based on the support that's giving to the teens. Because within my community, specifically, what I found was there was a lot of services for the babies of the teen parents, but not the teen parents themselves. I personally went through a lot of people telling me I would never finish high school, I would never become anything, I should just forget about myself and focus on my baby only. Like, just the most horrible things that a teen girl could ever want to hear in that situation. So my teen parent program, and I like, this is literally something I would dream about at night, as at that age, not even getting the support I needed, but thinking about how I could start something. Sure. So other teen parents wouldn't have to go through, because nobody wants to be a teen parent. Nobody wants to tell their kid to be it. It's one of those taboo things, the elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about, but it happens. So when it does happen, what is in place that these teen parents know that they still have a prosperous life ahead of them, and they should still find a way to fulfill their goals? Because at the end of the day, you can give the child everything that it needs, but if the mother and the parents aren't okay, that's going to trickle down to the child. So this is how you break generational curses. Just because someone had a bad experience, like whether it be teen pregnancy or whatever it is at an early age, it doesn't mean that their life is over. How you break generational curses is you build and you pour into and you uplift the teen parent, so that knowledge then trickles down to the baby, because it's all energetic. So if you're not supporting this teen in the way where they're able to be teens and parents, then that's a problem. So that's the foundation of my teen parent program. And what
are some of the things that you do in support of
one of the main components is one-on-one mentorship. So these teens have someone that they are able to connect with and talk to and get help on a personal level with whatever it is that they're going on in life, right? And each teen parent is different. Some teen parents have parents at home that, they can rely on. Some teen parents don't. Some teen parents have the child's father in their life. Some teen parent does and doesn't, right? So we really individualize each plan of action for each teen parent, because each teen parent is not the same. So right. There's a survey that goes into it where, they talk about their life and what their needs are, and most importantly, what their goals are, right? What college do you want to go to? These are things that weren't talked about with me. Nobody asked me what college I wanted to go to. They didn't even think I was going to finish high school, right? So it's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? What are your passions? Like, planting those seeds now and having someone that they can talk to on a one-to-one basis that, shows that they are cared about and things of that nature.
So to do all these things, obviously fundraising has to be a part of it. So what sort of things are you doing to get notice about the programs that are being offered and getting the funds required to fund these things?
Well, that's, one of the biggest, obstacles is like getting funding and getting people to support this program. Because I think a lot of people think that they have something that are helping teen parents. And it's, when you look at it, it's just something that helps the child, right? So I have to talk to a lot of people about what's missing. And unfortunately, some people don't like to hear that, right? There are different services out there and programs that says that they're helping teen parents, and it's not like my program. There's this big gap in it. So I talk to a lot of people, and really, I think partnership is one of the main components to this. Is why there's like, filling out grants and doing all of those things that's needed to get funding. But that's one of the biggest obstacles, because nobody really wants to talk about teen parents. Nobody, like, you know what I mean? It's not like Juneteenth where everyone is like, oh, Juneteenth, right? I really have to, I struggle a lot with getting people to see my point of view and really invest in this program.
So there's still some sort of like they're almost shunned, I guess, that
Yeah.
they've had a child in their teenage years, and the focus seems, as you found, to be just on the child and not the young lady
Yeah.
who is taking care of the child. So
Yes.
lifting her up will lift up the child as well. And
Exactly.
that's what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
What the other part of what I learned about you that you do is the event planning, which is something
Mhm.
you're clearly skilled at in the business, or the part of the business called Celebrations Reimagined, which obviously Juneteenth fits into that. But there's some event planning services and an interesting thing that you have that's membership based as well.
Mhm.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I'm actually in the middle of kind of revamping that right now. So Mari Enterprise, we do consulting, event planning, and marketing. We do direct services, or we do consulting when it comes to other people's businesses, organizations, and things of that nature. We are, the leaders in the market when it comes to diversity and inclusion of event planning, and people who are wanting to have meetings and conferences and rallies and activism, and how to really pull that all together. So those are a lot of the different clients that I get. A lot of people also reach out to me to just market their event, right? How do you market something? You might have already have an event plan, but how do you market it, right? How do you get it in front of the right audience? How do you get people to come? How do you brand your messaging so it's attractive on social media and things of that nature? So we help with all of that. And I also do consulting. If somebody wants to hire me for the hour and just kind of pick my brain on a specific topic or things like that, or one of my team members, they can do that as well.
How
So
does the
celebrate.
how does the subscription based component tie into that?
So basically, I have created a month to month event planning tools and marketing tips that have been spread out throughout the month. So I'm actually in the middle of revamping it. So people who subscribe will get monthly updates on our different event planning tools and marketing tools that get updated every month. So it's kind of like Apple. So I go in and I update it. So the part that I'm kind of revamping is you would first purchase the starter kit, and the starter kit would include multiple event planning tools, multiple marketing tools, along with the email offer we have and things of that nature. What comes with that starter kit, you get a year subscription, free subscription to the updates. After the year,
Okay.
you have to pay monthly.
Okay.
So you get all of the updates. You also get access to like educational content that I've created, that you can use for your own event if you're planning a Juneteenth event, or maybe another racially sensitive event or things of that nature. You get access to that. You also get for subscribing. You also get, my consulting hours at a reduced rate as well if you're a subscriber. And it really just keeps people updated on the new technology and the new information when it comes to event planning and making sure that your event is planned right the first time.
So you're doing a little bit more than what I would call a traditional event planner then.
Yeah, it is. It has the marketing component to it. Yeah, and it's a little bit more, and it's a little. So I do normal events, but really I specialize, like I said, in events that are racially sensitive, cultural events, things of that nature, even fundraisers. Anything that you want a diversity and inclusion involved in your event.
All right. So we've kind of gone through a lot of the things that you do and, how you started. I always like to have some element of education, and I've asked you your advice on something too. But what would you say you've learned that you could pass on to budding entrepreneurs about your process? Maybe some things that you did very well, or some things that you wish you wouldn't have done, or some things that you would change. Any advice that you would offer in terms of how to start?
Well, I would say if you are in my shoes where you don't have the capital or the money to just go and start this company and hire people and get it off the ground, start small. Start with something only you can do. Find out what your hidden talents are and start building your company from there. Because at that point, you're only in charge of paying yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And you're all you have. Like, you have your energy, you have your heart, you have your soul. Start with something only you can do and apply that, play it up, build it up, and then, try to integrate other people and outsource and things of that nature.
Should I just quit my job and just start doing my thing if I've got a great idea?
Well, like I said, if you're not having the gut, if you can do both, then do both. Mm-hmm. Right? If you are able to, work a specific type of job and also do that, why not, right? But it really depends. I think it gets to a certain point where you can't, and I think it really depends on the individual. But, I would say if you're not getting the gut feeling to do that, then don't. I don't want to be in charge of. Yeah.
Yeah, clearly we're not saying quit your job right now, but
right. Not right now.
Be smart about the decision.
Exactly, absolutely.
So and you got a lot on your plate. You're doing a lot of things. How do you kick back and relax and chill? What do you do when you just don't want to have to do business anymore?
Well, I, like to take care of myself, like self-care stuff. But really, when it comes to certain aspects of my business, I really enjoy doing it. So I will have to stop myself because I'll just keep going and don't take any breaks. And and I think that's also part of being an entrepreneur, right? It's right. There's not really, many kickback, breaks per se, but then, at certain times I don't really, feel like it's work. I'm having fun depending on, what the task is and, things of that nature. But I like to do a lot of self-care stuff and just take care of myself, make sure, my kids are okay. I have a daughter, she's in Texas right now. She goes to TSU. This is her second year of college. So I have a college student calling me and, my son, he's in high school here, but they're both big kids. So I do have a lot of time, but it's sometimes I do have to make myself stop because it is work. And
it's a challenge. That's for sure. But,
exactly.
You don't want to run yourself into the ground and you won't
Yeah.
be effective for your business at that point too.
Exactly. Very true.
So,
Very true.
as we close out, what would you say is some big things that people should know about you and what you're doing, and maybe how they can come alongside and assist you in what you're doing?
Yeah, well, please, anyone that is interested in nonprofit work, I'm definitely in need of new board members, people who want to be really involved in an organization and make an impact in the community. I am looking for you. Anyone that's interested in helping to plan the Juneteenth event, there's always work to be done on Juneteenth. If you are an artist or anything creative in that sense, if you want to be a part of the Juneteenth celebrations that I do throughout June, or any creative aspect, please reach out to me as well. If you yourself are an activist or want to plan an event in your community, reach out to me as well. I'm here to help. So yeah, there's multiple.
Go ahead and give your contact info.
Yeah, so my website is www.kemonehendricks.com. You can email me at evanstonpresentandfuture@gmail.com, or you can email me at mari.marienterprise@gmail.com. Or you can also just go to my website and fill out the contact form as well.
Thanks for joining me for my chat with Kemone Hendricks. She's definitely giving back to the community and living out her mission of being a servant leader. Be sure to reach out to her and support her numerous causes. Until next time, this is Cecil Archbold Jr. with Cecil's Unknown Achievers.